Online as well, so I'm gonna, okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to those of you who are here in our Forgotten Chapel, and welcome to those of you who are joining us online from down the street and also across the country. I know there's some folks even here with us from California and other places, so welcome to all of you. We have been, as you've heard me say many times, so incredibly blessed to be in partnership with Tulane University and with the Grant Center for the American Jewish Experience, and so many amazing scholars in our community that have been partners with us during this entire year of revisioning our lifelong learning, and with a particular focus on understanding Israel and not only its history, which many of you just finished our 6-week course with Elchanan Brown on the history of Israel and Zionism, but also Israel's present as we attempt to be a part of the conversation that supports the shaping of its future. So thank you for being a part of that, and thank you all for being a part of that. And I would love to introduce Dr. Brian Horowitz, who is the chair of the Jewish Studies Department at Tulane University and member of our New Orleans Jewish community, to share some words of introduction about our distinguished scholars this evening, and a special welcome to both of you, Dr. Shmucha and Dr. Halamish. We are incredibly honored to have you here and look forward to learning from you.
Thank you. So sometimes I take my bike and go just a little further to Anshe Sfard, where I'm a member. But I want to say my close friends are members here at Touro, and I've been here many times. But what I really wanted to say was that as I'm passing by Touro, I always see a huge crowd on Shabbos morning. So everyone could only wish to have like a synagogue group like that. So full of envy for the Touro congregation. It's pretty impressive. It's my pleasure to introduce today the two speakers. They would like to, and I hope everyone is in agreement, they'd like to speak. First, Sammy will speak for 35 minutes, and then 10 minutes of questioning, and then there'll be a separate lecture with Aviva, 35 minutes, and then 10 minutes or 50 minutes of questioning. So that's how we'll do it. That's what they want. I just want to introduce Sammy. Beyond all these accolades that, I mean, it's just amazing. Professor Emeritus of Sociology at the University of Haifa. He is a member of the Israeli Academy of Sciences and Humanities, and he won the Israel Prize. Wow. I was thinking, many want, but few get on that one. Many, and in general. He served as visiting professor and senior research fellow at many academic institutes in the West. Professor Smuha studies Israel society in comparative perspective with a focus on ethnic relations and democracy, and has published widely on the internal divisions and conflicts in Israel. And I know, Sammy, we both had fellowships at the University of Michigan about 10 years ago, and it would go like this. There would be like, someone would give their paper, and everyone got a chance to say something about the paper, and people would try to find some mistakes. And then it would be Sammy's turn, and it would take about 20 minutes as Sammy destroyed the person and it sort of like made them want to leave the profession. And often people would be crying and why? So like he did it to me, and I consider it like a badge of honor that I was able to hold on after that. So Sammy, 35 minutes.
That is the best introduction they have ever had. Look, I prepared a lecture for 2 hours. Now I have to deliver it in 35 minutes. But, the idea gives you some message. That's the idea. And my message is about Israeli politics. I'm sure you are interested in Israeli politics. Now, and especially with Israeli democracy. What kind of democracy Israel has, and why it's dominated today by the right wing. Israeli democracy today is oriented and dominated by the political right. Israeli system is multi-party system. We don't have a majority party, have never had. Since 1930, never had any party with a majority. So always you have to do coalition. Any government has to do coalition, meaning bringing together different parties. Now, for example, the right-wing coalition government today consists of 10 parties. Just to show you how diverse is the system. I will be running, just to, now by the parties, say today we have, I think, in the Knesset, we have 14 parties, but the parties belong to political blocs. And we have 3 political blocs in the Israeli system. One is the right-wing bloc, which now in control in government. Then we have the center-left bloc, and then we have a third bloc, which is the Arab bloc. So we have 3 political blocs, and each party knows to which bloc it belongs. And people know that if you say you vote to this certain party, they know that this party will support a certain bloc. That's the way it works in Israel. Now, the Israeli system, political system, has no constitution. We have never had any constitution. So you can see it's not easy because you don't know what are the rules of the game. And you can change the rules of the game because there is no constitution. So who is defending then Israeli democracy? The Supreme Court. We don't have, for example, any law of equality. And one reason we don't have a constitution, because there is opposition to the principle of equality. The equality between, say, a Jew and an Arab, the equality between men and women, and so forth. So there is all kinds of opposition, so they don't have equality principle in the law. So, as you can understand, Israeli politics is very divisive. They are competing, firstly, with each other, the blocks, the three blocks. And I explain what each block stands for. Now, when they compete, they don't compete as I would say, adversaries, not as adversaries. They compete as enemies. Each one sees the other as an enemy. So if you are in the political right, so you see a person on the left or the center, not somebody that you fairly compete with for power, but as your enemy. So what they do, it's a delegitimacy. They don't legitimize the other. So you can see how difficult is Israeli politics. Now, on what areas or issues they are divided? They are divided on the most important issues in the system. They are divided about civil rights, about democracy. They are divided even about the Jewish state. They agree about the Jewish state. Of course, they want all of them. They want not all of them, because the Arab bloc, they don't want a Jewish state. But say the political right and the center left, they agree about Jewish state. But what kind of Jewish state? They disagree sharply about the kind of a Jewish state. They agree that Israel should be a Jewish and democratic, but they disagree what it means. What does it mean, a democratic? They have a different vision what is a democracy. They have a different vision what is a Jewish state. And they have a different vision how you coordinate between the two, because the two can be in conflict between a Jewish and a Jewish state and a democracy. So you can see this. But they also disagree about the Palestinian question. You know, Israel is in conflict with the Palestinian people in the West Bank and Gaza and also in the Arab, and there is disagreement how to relate to the Palestinians, how we resolve the dispute with the Palestinians. And you won't believe it, they even disagree about Zionism. All of them, they want to be Zionists, but they disagree. What does it mean, Zionism? How you practice Zionism? So we are not talking about preference. They prefer this, or they prefer that. It's not preference. They disagree about principles. This is why so divisive is the system. Now, the differences not only between the blocks, between the political blocks, it's not only in the ideology about the critical issues. The problem is that each political bloc has a different social base. Different population groups belong to different bloc. So this means that the political division also overlaps with social classes. It's overlapped with ethnicity. People from different ethnic groups belong to a certain bloc. So all these conflicts become even more and more exacerbated. Okay, so let me now show the party composition of the three political blocs. I will talk to the, I will myself emphasize the political right, and my colleague Aviva, she will talk about the left or center left. Okay, so what in the political right today we have the Likud, that's Netanyahu party. We have Tikva Hadasha, this is Sa'ar, doesn't matter really. And then we have four religious parties which belong to the right wing: Hatzionut Hadatit, Otzma Yehudit, Shas, and Yadut Torah. Okay, so you can see each bloc is heterogeneous. It's not homogeneous. I mean, there are differences within the bloc. The differences you can see in the right wing. There are two important differences between religious and secular. The Likud is not religious, and the four religious parties, of course, they are religious. So they disagree within the bloc. They disagree with each other. And then you have Otzma Yehudit and Hatzionut Hadatit. They are not just they are not right. They are extreme right. They disagree with the Likud, which is right. It's unbelievable. I mean, how heterogeneous is the system? Okay, now what they stand for. Let's take the right wing, what they stand for. First of all, they stand for democracy. What is democracy? For them, democracy is majoritarian democracy. Means if you have a majority, then you do everything you want. No limits. You can pass any law, you can administer any policy, discriminatory policies, you know, all kinds of things, because you are a majority. So their idea that democracy means illiberal democracy. You know what's illiberal? It doesn't mean that you have to be objective, you have to service the country, you have to serve the people, you serve yourself. I mean, that's what that's their idea. If you have a majority, you got it all. No limits. That's the way Israeli government today behaves. No limits. The other issue is that they see, they want Jewish and democratic state. But for them, Israel, first of all, is Jewish. Democracy is okay. Democracy is okay as long as it's not in conflict with the Jewish state. When they are together, they are in conflict, then the Jewish is more important. And the state serves, first of all, the Jews. So if you are an Arab, you don't really belong to the state. You are a second-class citizen, because Israel is the country of the Jews. They even passed a law in 2018 which says that Israel is exclusively for the Jews. And the Jews not in Israel. You are also belongs to the Jewish state. It serves all the Jews in the world, not just Israeli citizens. And then there is the idea of Zionism. For them, Zionism is an ideology, national ideology for Jews and the interests of the Jews. It's not, doesn't, the values of equality, of justice, all this kind of things are secondary for them. Okay, let's, and about the Palestinian issue, that's very important. They do not accept the partition of the territory from the sea to the river, from the Jordan River to the sea. They want the whole area to be under Israeli control. This means no Palestinian state, and occupation will continue because they have no solution. They are not thinking of any solution of the situation. Okay. So far about the ideology. What about who supports the political right? The lower classes, the middle class, and the working class, and the lower classes. All the lower strata in society support the right wing in Israel. Now, but most important than the social class, the socioeconomic classes, the lower socioeconomic classes, more important is religion. Those who are more religious support the right wing. The more religious you are, the stronger you support the right wing. So you can see now, but also ethnically, Mizrahi Jews support the right wing. Russian Jews support the right wing. Ethiopians support the right wing. And descendants of the revisionists from the from the mandatory period. What this means, who supports the right wing? The non-dominant groups. People who are non-dominant today, they belong to lower classes, or those who used to be non-dominant, like the revisionists and so forth. So that's the kind of Likud we have. Okay, now I'm arguing something which is very important, to understand Israeli politics. I think the way Israel is constituted, the features of Israel today serves the right wing. So right wing I will show you why it is so. The way Israel, the existence of Israel, the way Israel is made serves the right wing. This means that if you're not in the right wing, you are in trouble, because trouble politically, not otherwise. Okay. Why Israel? Why you love Israel? People love Israel because they want a Jewish state. They are Jews, and they want the state to be Jewish in its characteristics, and they want the state to serve them as Jews. This is the thing. That's the way most Jews in Israel, that's the way they feel. Because they say that's the raison d'etre of having a Jewish state. This is the idea. This way of thinking is right-wing thinking. It's not a state for its citizens, equal, with equality, you serve all the citizens, but it serves Jews. So that's the way Israel is constituted. So Israel also has no separation between state and religion. We don't have a civil and divorce and civil divorce. All religious. So there is so much religion integrated into the state, into the life of people. So you can see how they serve the political right. But the way Israeli Judaism, but also historically, in Israel, among Jews, you don't separate between religion and between nation. If you are a Jew by religion, you belong to Jewish people. And the other way around. If you are a Jew by nation, so you belong to the Jewish people, you are a Jew by religion. So the two go together. Now in the United States, among the Jews, especially among Reformed Jews, there is more and more separation between the two. But not in Israel. In Israel, because in Israel, only Orthodox religion in Israel, Orthodoxy, is dominating Israeli life. Now, that's one way. So I'm talking about the features of Israel which serves the right wing. Now I'm talking about national security. National security also serves and empowers the right wing. because Israel is threatened. You know, it's insecure. It's threatened by the Palestinians. It's threatened by Iran all the time. So when you have threats and fears, this is the way right wing thrives. The right wing thrives on fears. They say, look, you are fears, you are threatened, we will help you. We will make you strong, we secure you against it. So in Israel, for a long time now, they say Palestinians are the enemy, and they don't talk to us, they don't want any negotiation, nothing. So that's the way it goes. Now, because the right wing stands against partition of the land, against Palestinian state, this means the status quo of no partition, because the situation in Israel since 1967 is with any partition. So in order to do something against it, you have to take step. But but the right wing doesn't have to take any step, because the status quo is no partition. Okay. Now, also the right wing is very much helped by what's going on in the world. There is anti-Semitism in the world. There is anti-Israel sentiment in the world. And this, they say, look, we, the right wing, we will help you, because we all of the time will tell you that the Jews are always under threat of something. So we will help you on this. But not only this, there is a general trend in the world today which weakens democracy all over. The United States, in the last 17 years, studies show that democracy in the United States is going down in the last 2 decades. So this helps also the right wing, because they want a weak democracy, and that's what the right wing in Israel stands for: weaker democracy. Okay, I am saying that the right wing in Israel today has a majority among the Jews, not among citizens, because citizens, including Arabs in Israel, Arabs are 18% or 20%, 18% of the citizens and 20% of the total population. So, but if you take only Jews, they have a majority among the Jews. Okay, when you ask in Israel, how do you define yourself? You ask Jews, how do you define? 60%, 60% of the Jews say, I am a right-winger. So the way they perceive themselves. So there is clear majority among the Jews as a right-winger, when you ask Jews in Israel, what kind of government would you like? Most Jews say, I would like to have a right-wing government. So it's not just, it's in my mind. This is the way the Jewish public in Israel wants. Now, when you take the population, the Jewish population, you see that that groups which support the Likud, the right wing, they have a higher population increase. They have a higher fertility than others. The religious Jews have, Haredim, they have 6 children, per family. And the Zionist, religious Zionists, they have 4 children per family. Now the secular have 2 or 2 to 3. So their population is increasing among the Jews. But not only among the natural growth, but also immigration. Jews who are not on the right, who are in the center left, they immigrate more from Israel, and the immigrants who are coming to Israel Most of them are right-winger. You know, they come from Russia, even from the United States. Those who are religious, who go to Israel, tend to be more right-wing than others. So the people, they have more and more. Okay, how I'm doing with time? Okay, 12? Okay. So, despite the fact that the right wing in Israel has a majority, it's very clear among Jews, the majority is not stable. You cannot say that we, the right winger, we have a majority and we are going to rule from one Knesset to another. They cannot do it. Why? Or they want to pass all kinds of non-democratic laws, and they do pass. They have some weaknesses, and this is what I want you to see. Because Arabs, the third bloc, they are against the political right, and they are 18% of the citizens, the Arabs. So that's one stumbling block for the rule of the political right. Another is when they want to make a coalition government, they don't take the Arabs into account. So they have fewer parties to bring to the government. So again, they have to get much more votes from the Jews. But there is limit how many votes you can get from the Jews, because they don't take Arabs. And then they have the supporters of the left and the center. Now, this supporters of the left, the center, or the opposition to the political right, they are from the middle class and up and higher classes. People who are professional, people who are rich, and they are active and many things. So they have a real opposition. They are not, the opposition is not in the lower classes. The opposition are from the elites of society. Because the elites in Israel accept the political elite. They are in the academia, they are in science, they are in the high tech, they are in the judiciary, they are in the media, they are in the economy, everywhere they are against the right wing. But the right wing has the politics. They have the voters. So there is then for them to have a stable rule. It's very hard. It's not easy because they have so much opposition. 2 years ago, when this government came to power, they said we are going to have judicial reform. They want to change. But in fact, it was not judicial reform. It was a revolution to make the system undemocratic. And people went to the streets. Almost a million of people went to the streets, and they had to stop it because they knew that. And this is, they say, what one reason for the war started because the enemy, this Palestinian, saw there is so much division in society that it's good for them to start the war against Israel. So there is then limit of what they can do. Now they want to keep Israel as is, as far as the Palestinians are concerned. They don't want to divide. They don't want any solution to the Palestinian question. But this is against the international community. International community wants a solution, so they cannot provide any solution. That's one big weaknesses of them. Now, because my time is going to be up, let me just say what is their plan. what this government wants to achieve. They want to reconstitute Israeli society and state, to make a new state, a new society. By what kind of society? A right-wing society. Because Israel was built from the 30s, the last century, till the 70s, was built by, not by the political right. So they want to change, not only to be just in government and to make decisions in government. They want a revolution. They want a different kind of Israel. That's idea. They want new elites. They don't want the elites which exist today, the professionals, the science, the technology. They want different kind of people to rule all this, to rule society. So they are talking about revolution, right-wing revolution. So that's the way. And they have already took some steps toward this. For example, they want their people to be everywhere, in every ministry, every executive, and so forth. But they don't have people, because the elite does not support them. So how you put a person a head as, say, a ministry, or a head of all kinds of corporations, government corporations, and they don't have the people with the skills. So what they do, they lower the standards. And they recruit people not according to their abilities and their talents and so forth. They recruit people according to loyalty to the government, loyalty to the ministers. That's the way they select people. They have because it's very difficult for them to bring people who can meet the standards of various positions. One problem that they have, as I already mentioned, this is the Arabs in Israel. Because, 20%, that's a lot of people in democracy. So the idea for them is to present Arabs in Israel as enemies, as part of the Palestinian people, and the Palestinian people are enemies, of the state and of the Jews. So when the center left they go to have a coalition government, they will not take the Arabs, because the Arabs are part of the enemy. You cannot put them into government. That's the idea. So in order to discount the Arabs, like the Arabs are not citizens, don't give them to be part of the decision making in society. Okay, I think I'll go now to the conclusions, because I can just show you, you see, I have so many tables, all kinds of things which to base my conclusions, but we don't have the time. So let me just go to the conclusions. Okay. So I'm saying that Israeli politics today is deeply divided. It's not, believe me, it's not between Democrats and Republicans. We are talking about much more critical issues that the two they are divided about. And most important thing is the political division overlaps the class division in society and ethnic division in society. So you have three divisions who go together. So if I am in the political, say, right, I am in the lower classes, and I hate the people in the left center because they are in the higher classes. I hate them because they are Ashkenazi, not because I am Russian immigrants, I am Ethiopian, I am Mizrahi Jew, I am religious, and they are secular. So you have all divisions go together. So they exacerbate the conflict in society. Now, so today, in many ways, what's important is not to which political party you vote for. It's more important to which party, to which political bloc you vote for. You vote for a party that you know it belongs to the right wing or it belongs to the other one. And when we talk about politics today, we always talk about the political bloc, not the party. And what I'm saying is that Israeli society, the way the Israeli state is constituted, helps the right wing in Israel. So why the right wing is in power? Because the way the state is constituted, the society is constituted. A lot of people today, they are afraid of civil war in Israel. They say this cannot continue this way because the conflict is so severe. This society is going to disintegrate. So I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but it's really there is a possibility. You cannot say this is a possibility, it's out of mind. It's not. It's on the table. A lot of people, I'm finished. So the last part you see down there, I'm saying there are some effective measures against civil war in Israel. One thing, there is a common enemy. All Jews doesn't matter. You know, if you are on the left, on the center, on the right, doesn't matter. You have a common enemy, the Palestinians. You see, they fought in the last year and a half against Gaza, against the Hamas. Now, also, there is something which called Jewish solidarity. There are Jews, different political blocs, they are competing for power, they want to change all this, but still they are Jews. And there is something which brings them together. And also, the right political bloc is stronger than the other bloc, as I said. There's still the other bloc is not so weak. It counterbalance the other. So they have to take it into consideration. And so far, since 1948, Israeli democracy survived. And there were so many circumstances that we thought that Israeli democracy will collapse. For example, after the Yom Kippur War, some people will collapse. And did not. There were economic crises in Israel, a couple of economic crises, and Israeli democracy persists. So I think Israeli democracy will survive, but Israeli democracy is one of the weakest democracies in the world, but will survive as a weak democracy. Thank you.
The green band, is that the good one? Okay.
Works.
I wanted to ask you to compare the Israeli political system a little bit with the American political system. We've come to a point now where we have a very right-wing party and a very left-wing party. And it seems like we really need more of a centrist party. But I'm wondering that if neither one of those changes, I mean, is the Israeli system a cautionary tale that you really don't want more than two parties because of the mess that y'all have there?
I think I will just answer, okay? Is it okay with you? Israeli democracy is much weaker than American democracy. So what Trump can do is much more limited than what Netanyahu can do. Because you have a constitution. We don't have a constitution. You mean what? Open to debate, but you have it. You have it. We don't have it. Secondly, it's a federal system. You have 50 states. We have just one. And the federal system, to change the constitution, you can go over. You can't, because you have to take into consideration other states. Third, you have two. You have Senate and Congress. We just have one. In fact, we don't have a parliament in Israel. We don't have. Because in order to have a government, you have two coalition. Coalition means that they have a majority, and the majority controls the Knesset. So we don't have really a Knesset. Whatever the government wants to do, it can do. In the United States, you have two houses, you have all kinds of... In Israel, you don't. Whatever Netanyahu wants to do, he has a majority. And he feels he doesn't have limits, because his idea is a majoritarian democracy. It's not liberal democracy. He doesn't want a liberal democracy. So these are... And there are other reasons. Israeli democracy is young. It doesn't have real tradition. American system has tradition. The tradition, democratic tradition, goes against any dictator. If say Trump wants to be a dictator, there are so many limits against him. So let's hope we are like the United States.
So you mentioned the blocs as more important in some ways than the parties themselves. Do you think that the recent decision to start drafting Orthodox men is going to threaten the strength of that right-wing bloc, or is it, since it's not really being, I guess it's kind of being enforced, but what do you think about how that plays into the dynamics there?
There is a big question in Israel to draft the Orthodox, the Orthodox have their young people study in yeshiva till they are 45 years old. And we, the seculars or others, we just give them money to stay, don't serve in the army, do not work, and we'll pay for them, That's the idea. Now, and this is not egalitarian to begin with. It's not good for the economy. And they want now, because Israel has now shortage of manpower, military manpower. So the army needs them to serve. Now, because I said every black itself, it's heterogeneous. Even the blacks are heterogeneous. So they want to change. They want to have a different law, of drafting people. They say, okay, no, we will not draft all the Orthodox men, we'll draft only some of them, and they are against it. But they don't have alternative, the religious parties, because the other side is not going to give them, a better law, So they will talk, they will cry, but they want the money. They want the money, that's important, So I don't think this government is going to stay till the next election. No, whatever will happen.
I have, I guess, two questions that are sort of related. The first one, is what do you think are the most important reasons why Israeli Jewish society has become more right-wing over time? And Specifically, do you see that as just driven by demographics, or are there other reasons why people are finding right-wing interpretation of the world to be persuasive? And then along with that, I'm wondering, you know, in American politics, there's a lot of election coverage around swing voters, persuadable voters, right? Some people are going to vote the same way no matter what, but there are a few people who are persuadable, and then they sort of decide the outcome. Is there anything equivalent in Israel where okay, you have religious people who are going to vote right-wing no matter what, you have, you know, Ashkenazi liberal arts professors who are going to vote one way no matter what, but are there persuadable people, and who are they, and what persuades them?
In fact, you are asking a question which is better asking Aviva, because she is going to talk. But let me say something general. And I'm going to give an answer as a sociologist. To be a leftist, or it's much more difficult in the mindset than to be a right-winger. Because the right-winger talks about ethnicity, to whom you belong. Belonging is much more better than civil rights, human rights. These are very abstract ideas. You relate to your family. Your nation is like extended family. That's easier for people, you know, to relate to than to relate to equality as a principle, and human rights as principles, and so forth. So I think there is a trend for the political right, not only in Israel, in the West generally, because it makes much more sense as a human being, that you relate to a family, to extended family, to the nation as your member, than to defend principles of equality, of civil rights. I gave you an answer, not the other answer. I will let Aviva to answer. And now we're going to change. את יכולה להתחיל פה בינתיים, אני עד שיסדר לך.
Okay, so I'll begin. Hope people can hear me. So, Aviva Hamalish is Professor Emeritus of History at the Open University in Tel Aviv. What? Oh. Her research encompasses the history of the Jewish people in the 20th century, focusing on Jewish immigration, the Zionist left, and the kibbutz. She authored or edited over a dozen books and published scores of articles on various aspects of her fields of expertise. Among her books include The Exodus Affair, The Kibbutz, Utopia and Politics, The Life and Times of Meir Yaori, sorry about that, my mistake. She served as the president of the Association for Israel Studies and a member of the Israel Council for Higher Education. She's a winner of the AIS, that's the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2023. So another award winner among us. Aviva, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm in charge of the left, and also how we got to this situation. But I would like to start with a statement. I have a breaking news for you. There is no left in contemporary Israel. No left has been left on Israel's political map. I mean, left in its universal sense, the traditional sense of left. Now, this statement requires to clarify the definitions so we'll all be on the same page. Now, I'm not an expert with this, but we'll try. We'll go quickly on this. You don't hear me? The term left originally indicated a socialist worldview of society that involves a concern for those in society perceived as disadvantaged relative to others, as well as a belief that there are unjustified inequalities that need to be reduced or abolished through radical means that change the nature of society. That's the traditional one. The common contemporary use of the term left wing today, nowadays, commonly means a social, economic, and political philosophy. You follow me on? That supports political and economic democracy and a gradualist, reformist, and democratic approach toward achieving social equality, and generally support secularization and the separation of church and state. Now we turn to Israel. Who are you, the contemporary Israeli left? The identification of a person or a group as a leftist in Israel depends primarily on their position vis-à-vis the question of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the other characteristics of the left, first, the essence of this leftist position is a willingness to a territorial compromise over the territories occupied during the Six-Day War, namely the two-state solution. And the other characteristic of leftist orientation in Israel today, as you see, the desire to appropriately settle the two components of Israel's character, as Professor Smucha spoke before, Jewish and democratic, by giving the Jewish definition a democratic content, and in most cases, loyalty to secular values. Now, I would like to illustrate this definition by quoting the author and historian Fania Oz Salzberger, the daughter of the renowned writer and left-wing public figure Amos Oz, and she wrote on November 1st, 2023, less than a month after the Hamas attack, and that's what she says. I was, and if you follow me on the screen, I was and remained on the Israeli left. I still believe that it is necessary to reach a border determining agreement with the Palestinian Authority, pending a two-state solution, to evacuate Jewish settlements in the West Bank, to defend Israel powerfully and wisely from within its sovereign territory recognized by international law, to strive for equal rights for Jewish and Arab citizens, invest in social justice, and establish a liberal, moderate, and value-oriented social democracy here. Now, we will get back to the current Israeli left shortly, after a quick acquaintance with the political history of Israel. From 1948 until the late 1980s, the political map of Israel was composed of three political blocks: left, right, and religious. In the election for the first Knesset in 1949, the left got the majority of seats in the Israeli parliament, 65. If you can see here on the figures, the red represents left, of course. So if we take the Zionist left, Mapai and Mapam, they have together 65 seats, which is the majority, and mathematically, it was possible to form a leftist government. But Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, decided to leave Mapam, the left party, out of the government, and to form a coalition with, in addition to his own party, Mapai, the Religious Front, the Progressive, which is a centrist liberal party, the Sephardim list, and a satellite Arab list associated with Mapai. Now, ever since 1949, historians and others cannot refrain from contemplating what could have been if a leftist government was formed. But, you know, who knows? We don't have if in history. Now, Ben-Gurion's decision was in line with the slogan he had coined in 1933, saying, from a class to a nation, meaning that he aspired to attract to his party, Mapai, people from all social classes in order to fulfill first and foremost the national Zionist goals. Over the years, Mapai moved from the left side of the political map closer to the center, leaving only Mapam on the Zionist left slot. The communists, if you see here, Maki is the Communist Party, they have 4 seats in the first Knesset. The communist was totally excluded, I would say excommunicated from being part of the coalition. And there is a famous declaration by Ben-Gurion who said, all parties are legitimate potential coalition partners except for Herut, that was Begin's party on the right, and Maki, the Communist Party, on the left. Now, the ban on the right wing Herut was lifted in 1967, but the communists are disqualified to serve in the government until these very days. Mapam sat on the opposition benches until 1955. Now, staying in the political desert took a heavy toll on the left. Kept away from the decision-making circle, Mapam was consumed by internal ideological and political rifts, struggles, and split that actually distracted it from taking part in the central process that Israeli society experienced at that time, I mean that of immigration absorption. Nevertheless, Mapam maintained its adherence to the Zionist order of priorities as manifested every day on the front page of its daily newspaper with the slogan, for Zionism, socialism, and the brotherhood of the nations, in that order. First Zionism, then socialism, and then the brotherhood of the nations. In the first 3.5 years of statehood, the population of Israel was more than doubled by mass immigration, first mainly from Europe, it was mainly Holocaust survivors, and then from Muslim countries, Yemen, Iraq, and North Africa. In those days, Mapai, I hope you don't confuse it between Mapai and Mapam. Yeah, Mapai, the ruling party, I would say, I think it led an unprecedented project. I think it was verging on hubris, of bringing hundreds of thousands of Jews to a young state. For a long time, many of the new immigrants voted for Mapai in spite of the hardship they experienced in their absorption process. They did so out of feelings of gratitude and because they were dependent on the ruling party in various spheres of life. Now we move ahead, and in the mid-1960s, there were signs that Israel was on its way to recover from the crisis of its early years and entering a stage of healing. No, I'm not, the slide is only illustration to it's not the basis of okay. Now the resident, I'm talking about the change in the mid-60s. The residents of the transit camps moved to permanent housing. The immigrants became more and more, though slowly, integrated into Israeli society, and the personal economic situation was improved. The Six-Day War, 1967, halted the process of social and economic recovery. Since 1967, and even more so after the right came to power in 1977, much of the governmental attention and resources shifted from the state within the Green Line, the pre-67 borders, to the occupied territories, and clearly the vast investments in the occupied territories came at the expense of the development towns and the slums in the cities. Now, from the outset, Israeli society was on, the term is an overburdened society, torn by multitude of divisions between Jews and Arabs, religious and secular, Ashkenazim and Mizrahim, and don't forget haves and have-nots. The results of the Six-Day War intensified some of these cleavages and added another one, the dispute over the future of the territories conquered during the war. This issue turned to be the central one in Israeli politics. The terms right and left in Israeli politics received a new connotation, and today these issues serve as the litmus paper of political identity. Hence is my contention that the Six-Day War was a decisive point in Israel's history and marked the beginning of the demise of the left. The full impact of the Six-Day War consequences became evident only a few years later, and the observation that the Six-Day War was the watershed turning point in Israel's political history became clear only in retrospect. After the Six-Day War, I don't know, I guess you still remember, the admired defense minister, Moshe Dayan, who belonged to Mapai, center-left, said, he formulated the slogan, "It is not feasible to raise two flags at the same time, the flag of security and the flag of social justice." And it was quite clear what is the conclusion. Both Mapai, soon to become the Labour Party, and Mapam, to its left, complied with this order of priorities, and this mutual consent paved the way to forming the alignment, Hama'arach of Mapai, Labour Party, and Mapam. So the left wing, I would say the real left wing, was left only to the communists and to some fractional groups formed by people who were disappointed by Mapam's rightward move. At the same, at that time, there was no real leftist opposition to the government. I'm talking between the 67 and war and the 1973. Though Mapam disagreed with many of the Labour Party's position on socioeconomic and security and political issues, it avoided rocking the boat and made tireless efforts to maintain its political accord with the Labour Party, thus diluting the political left. Between the two wars, the Labour-Mapam alignment was at its prime. In the 1969 election, it received a record of 56 seats in the Knesset, which is almost 50%. We have 120. Now, we are still in the period between 67 and 73, and actually until late 1970, Israel was in a state of war, the war of attrition with Egypt. Soon after a ceasefire with Egypt came into effect in August 1970, it didn't take long, and the social protest broke out, led by the Black Panthers, a group of Jews from Muslim countries. The Labour-Mapam government, led by Golda Meir, overlooked the protest. Well remember is Meir's, one called Golda's, allegation that the Black Panthers are not nice guys. Now, this haughty reaction increased the alienation of the Mizrahim from the Ma'arach, from the Labour Party in Mapam. And the left, I would say, overlooked the opportunity to join forces with the Black Panthers, who had socialist orientation with no religious inclination. Eventually, the protest of the Mizrahim hit the left in two ways. First, one of the Black Panthers leaders, Charlie Beaton, joined the non-Zionist Communist Party, Hadash, and by this way he was ruling himself out of a legitimate left. Then, after the failure of the Black Panthers protest, the political organization of the Mizrahim took on a religious character. It is widely agreed upon that religious sentiments determine, I would say to a great extent, the political position of Mizrahi Jews. And the Mizrahi Jews conceived the left as secular, we already heard about it, disrespecting their religious sentiments, while the right, from Herut, led by Begin, all the way to the Likud, so the right was more sympathetic to their religious inclination. The rise of Mizrahi ethnic religious parties dealt another blow to the left. First, with the short-lived Tami party, which eventually merged into the right-wing Likud, and from 1984, we have Shas, the Haredi Mizrahi party, which is ultra-Orthodox Mizrahi religious political party. At the beginning, Shas took a moderate position on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, served in labor governments, and supported arriving at peace agreement with the Arab states. Hard to believe, but many years ago. Later on, Shas took a hawkish political stance, and the party has become an integral part of the right bloc. Now, we have to take a step back to the 1977 political upheaval. Right before the Six-Day War, the right received a boost of legitimacy. Herut, headed by Menachem Begin, which had not been counted as a partner for the government ever since the establishment of Israel. On the eve of the Six-Day War, he was invited to join a white national unity government. However, as a protest against the ceasefire agreement I just mentioned with Egypt, reached in 1970, the party left the government, ridding itself of any direct responsibility to the failures preceding the Yom Kippur War. The electoral impact of the Yom Kippur War came about 4 years later, in 1977 election. Now you see the results, the red is the left, and I thought it will be orange, but it's the center liberal parties. So more than being a victory to the right, the 1977 political upheaval was a defeat to the left. The voters that deserted the Ma'arach did not vote for the Likud. They switched to the new centrist liberal democratic movement for change, Dash, headed by Yigael Yadin. The 1977 election caused a dramatic change in the pattern of Israel's political map. I'm reminding you some of the insights of the former token. So it caused a dramatic change. Until 1977, Mapai, or Labor, was situated in such a position that enabled it to form a coalition with parties either to its left or to its right. For 30 years, there has been a clear hegemonic or dominant party, Mapai. Since 1977, no party has been in such a dominant position. Now, while in power, the Likud played on the strings of past discrimination on ethnic ground to recruit Mizrahi voters by inciting them against the left, who was in power in the 50s. Rather than making efforts to heal the wounds and look forward, the right has been amplifying the animosity against the left based on past grievances, though we have to remember that by now, the right has been in power for longer periods than the left. As we move forward on the timeline, people shifted their support from the left to various centrist parties, from what I mentioned already, 1977 Dash, to contemporary Yesh Atid, Yair Lapid, and Hamachaneh HaMamlachti, Benny Gantz. These what I call mood parties, people, according to the mood, they change their vote to this party or that party, are, as I just mentioned the name of the parties, I mentioned the name of their leaders, they are known by the name of their leaders. They say, that's Lapid's party, that's Gantz's party. It is doubtful whether the ordinary Israeli can point to their political, God forbid, ideological positions. Anyway, these parties evidently cannot be considered left-wing in the universal sense of the term. In fact, they are not left-wing parties even in the Israeli sense. As to the right wing, it is gaining more and more power by the consistent loyalty of all the religious parties. Before 1967, and a few years afterwards, the Zionist religious party, Hamafdal, and the ultra-Orthodox ones were natural partners to Mapai. The Zionist religious were members of the government as minister, the ultra-Orthodox supported the government from the outside. Since the Six-Day War, the occupation of the West Bank, and the establishment of Jewish settlements there, Itnachluyot, and even more so since 1977, the Zionist religious parties and the ultra-Orthodox one are situated firmly in the right camp, tilting the political scale to the right. Another significant change in the face of the Israeli political map is the emergence of Arab parties in 1988. If you remember, I hope you still remember, a few minutes ago I said, I started my historical survey by presenting three political blocks, right, left, and religious. As we have seen, the religious bloc merged into the right, and now we have to ask to what extent the Arab bloc is part of the left. The new Arab bloc was an asset for the left for a short time only. After the victory of the Labour Party in 1992 elections, the Arab Democratic Party joined the left obstructive bloc, supporting the government from the outside. The reliance of the Rabin government on the support of an Arab party in the approval of the Oslo Peace Accord was considered an unforgivable sin by the Israeli right, depicting Rabin as a traitor. In 2021, the Bennett-Lapid government again relied on an outside support of an Arab party, Ra'am, and too was castigated by the right. Currently, the leaders of the centrist parties, and also Bennett, he's in the shade, but he's a prominent political figure these days. So they declare they will never form a coalition with any Arab party and not even rely on their external support. This stand excludes any option of having a center and left to the center government. The improbability of the Arabs to be an asset for the left stems not only from their bearing by the right and center, but also because of a low voting rate among the Arab citizens of Israel. Had the Arabs been represented in the Knesset according to their demographic weight, 20%, the picture might have been different. Now we arrive to the present. I started my talk by claiming that there has never been left in its universal traditional sense in Israel. As we have seen in the last few minutes, today there is hardly any left even in the unique Israeli sense of the term. And if we look, that's a promo. If we look at the political blocs in the Knesset today, what is the left? We have 4 member Knesset of the Labour Party. There are 10 Arab members of the Knesset from Arab parties, which I don't know to what extent we can term them as left, like Ram is not really a left party, and Satu, that's it. So, actually today, We have two blocks. One, you can follow me on the slide, is in favor of Benjamin Netanyahu's continued tenure as prime minister, and a bloc opposed to Netanyahu's continued tenure. The left is, of course, part of the second one, but only a marginal factor in that bloc. While one may argue that the end of Netanyahu's regime is an ultimate condition, even if not sufficient, for the reshuffle of the political map of Israel, still, it will not lead to forming a center-left strong enough power, rallying around the two-state solution for the Palestinian problem. Having Netanyahu, that maybe wishful thinking, having Netanyahu out of the political arena might even strengthen the right, since parties like Israel Beiteinu, which rules out any partnership with Netanyahu, will join forces with the Likud. Now I want to have a quick look through the crystal ball, the future. If you analyze the 2022 election results, by analyzing it raised the question whether it was an accident or do they reflect a the current political map and indicates also its shape in the future. This is the result of the 2022 election. Now, in popular vote, there was almost a tie on the verge of a statistical error between the two blocs. But when it comes to number of seats in the Knesset, the right has a clear majority. How comes? The left lost between 6 to 7 seats because two parties did not pass the electoral threshold due to internal rivalries in the Arab list and the refusal of the Labour Party chair to run together with the left-wing Meretz. The 2022 election results reflect a double symptom of the left's crucial weakness. First of all, its chronic tendency to split and the absence of an agreed upon and attractive leader. Now, the idea that the 2022 election were an accident is probably a wishful thinking due to two reasons, which Professor Smucha already pointed to. One is the demographic factor that steadily increases the reservoir of right-wing voters. The other is the delegitimation of the Arab parties as potential partner. And finally, what is the impact of October 7? After the Hamas murderous attack on Israel, many Israeli leftists expressed disillusion of any chance to have an agreement with the Palestinians, magnifying the declaration by the then Prime Minister Ehud Barak that after the failure of the Camp David conference in 2000 said that there was no partner for peace. The distressing truth is that indeed, even before October 7, the Palestinians did not make it easy for the left to gain power. The tragic example is, of course, the Second Intifada, which shook the Oslo agreements and gave an almost deadly blow to Israel's left, making the chances of reviving the left slimmer. Now, the last sentence is an exercise in looking, as I said, in the crystal ball. And we historians say it is not easy to predict, and even more so when it comes to the future. So, since it comes to the future, I make do with supplying food for thought, leaving you with more question marks than providing exclamation marks. Thank you.
We have only like a second, maybe one question, or we demand one question. Thank you. Wait, we have to get the microphone.
You gotta sit closer next time.
Did I understand you to say that early on Ben-Gurion chose to join forces with the religious party instead of with Mapai? Didn't Ben-Gurion make a conscious effort?
Did Ben-Gurion make a conscious effort to join with the religious parties instead of the left?
You know, if you have another half an hour, I'll explain to you.
No, but is that what you said?
Why Ben-Gurion decided to leave Mapam out, the left, to leave the left out, but and to form a wide government with the religious party as one of the main partners.
But what I was getting at is that led to his deal that he made with the religious, that they did not have to serve in the army because of that decision, and therefore that's coming back to be a bigger problem even now.
If I got you right, I have to explain that the religious party in 1949, and actually until today, the genuine religious Zionists, they serve in the army. Actually, now they are even taking a lead among officers and people and all kind of influential positions in the army. The refusal to go to the army is the ultra-Orthodox. But I want to make clear one point. In 1949, even before, in an agreement with the ultra-Orthodox, in order that they will support the 1947 decision to divide Palestine to a Jewish and Arab state, he promised them that he will enable between 300 and 400 yeshiva buchers to study instead of going to the army, to preserve the study of the Torah, etc. Who broke actually the dam and made it into a flood was Menachem Begin in 1977, that in order to have the ultra-religious parties join his government, said that all yeshiva buchers are exempt from military service, and that caused the problem. If it was 400, and let's say that the population is growing, and they said, okay, it will be 2,000, but not across the board, that all people, even if they don't study at the yeshiva, they don't serve in the army. Okay. So I hope I got what your question, and I hope I gave you an intelligent answer. Okay, I guess you all agree with me. It's okay.
Thank you so much, Professor Halamish and Professor Samucha, for this time, and to our partners at Tulane for creating this opportunity for us. We're going to continue in this session has been recorded, and we'll share it with those of you who maybe are online and want to see it again, and those who couldn't be here. And we're going to continue our learning. We have a film class on Wednesday night with Dr. Elad Wexler, and then we have Songs of Our Mothers with Netza El-Kayam and Amit Chai Cohen beginning on this Sunday. So we're immersing and experiencing the incredible complexity and inspiration of our Jewish people, and I'm really appreciative of your attention and your participation. I'm going to pass these out. We don't get to vote in Israeli elections, so however strongly we may feel about what would be good for the Jewish people and good for our siblings in Israel, we don't get to vote in those elections, but we do get to vote in the World Zionist Congress elections. Those elections are open now. That Congress controls over $1 billion of a budget to support different causes within Israel and around the world. And if you are a Jew in America, you can vote for our American delegation. So I'll hand it to you. Please do vote. You have until May 4th, but just do it tonight. It's $5 in 5 minutes. These flyers are suggesting that you vote reform to try to increase the presence of liberal Jews within that Congress, but just vote. Read about the slates and vote so that our values can be represented, and then when you're done, pass this on to any other Jewish person that you know. So I'll hand these out so you don't forget. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. And well, I'm glad you're here in New Orleans. I hope you continue to enjoy your time here.
אני מחבר אותו פשוט. זה חלקים. כן, זה ככה, ברור, אני ככה. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, when I don't have to eat anything else, this is a joy.
You did it very well.